Okay. All right. Welcome everybody to our CU Denver Semesters webinar. Really excited to be here today to talk about our 2 semester programs, one semester in Beijing and another semester in Berlin. So a little bit of overview of the Office of Global Education. So we are the Office of Global Education, also known as OGE, and we manage all of the study abroad programs here at CU Denver, whether they are short-term faculty-led programs over winter, Maymester, summer, or our semester-long programs to Beijing, Berlin. We also work with students who want to go through third-party provider programs. These are organizations that organize programs all over the world. And we work with students at Anschutz. We manage international programs abroad, or internship programs abroad. So if you need a passport to get there, we are the office to work with. So if you are interested in doing anything, whether you want to study abroad, do research abroad, intern abroad, please contact our office. Okay, so I'm gonna jump right into our CU Denver semester in Beijing, and then we are also going to hear from our students, Megan White here, who's going to answer some questions about her experience in her study abroad program. All right, so I'm going to share my screen here. All right, so for those of you who are here, can you see my Prezi? Okay, great, awesome. All right, so CU Denver has a semester in Beijing program that runs every fall and spring. We are not running it this spring, but we are excited and look forward to having students on our campus in fall 21. So why should we study abroad in China? Chinese is a critical language. It's really important. It's one of these really important languages that that is really growing in popularity. You know, maybe in high school you studied Spanish or French, and now you're seeing that Chinese is also an option too. China has the second largest economy in the world, so it's definitely a language that is important to know, especially if you're going to be working international business. You should learn and experience a culture that's impacted and influenced so many other Asian nations. China is a leading player in international business. It is affordable. There is amazing food, so amazing. It's one of the reasons why I love going to China. And it's a very safe country. All right, so why should we study abroad with CU Denver? The program affordability. Oh my gosh, I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, but it's definitely affordable. You don't have to worry about transferring your credit because the credit is CU Denver credit. All the courses are taught in English by CU Denver faculty who are teaching quality courses, and you get to take classes with Chinese students on our campus. All right, so I'm going to show a little bit of video here.
I wanted to study abroad for multiple reasons. The first reason was I didn't necessarily have a lot of support coming into college, so I wasn't too familiar with the different resources, the different opportunities that a college student can have. I didn't know that you could study abroad. Before college, I'd never stepped out of Denver.
I wanted to study abroad because I'm going into global health, and I think the Beijing program stood out to me just because it was so different, but it still had CU Denver professors, which I really liked because I love CU Denver, and so it had that familiarity, but I wanted to experience the difference in culture.
I studied abroad mostly because I wanted to get the language experience in China. Going to Beijing just made sense, you know, because I get to learn the language, I get to see all of the different political, cultural, social, all these different types of things all around me.
So I think what I learned from my experience is not to make assumptions about people and just not to assume that I know like the right way to do things, because the way to do things in America isn't necessarily the way to do things in China.
By being able to make that kind of commitment, to realize that going is much more beneficial than staying. It it's a very good experience. It's very good for learning language. It's applicable, for resumes and things like that. All around, it's a good experience to have. And so I really wanted to have that. I found it really important, especially for my major.
I believe that one of the most valuable things with study abroad is it allows you to learn more about yourself. Because when you're removed from the context, when you're removed from your comfort zone, you're able to learn more about your strengths and your weaknesses. And that's just one of the things with study abroad. I was able to practice that skill and develop it, which will best align with my future career goals with working in international education and just working with students from different cultures.
I think people should study abroad in Beijing just for the experience of a culture that's completely unlike ours, and you'll build relationships that you'll have for the rest of your life. I don't plan on ever losing connection with the people I went with.
It was just such a unique opportunity. Like when you return and you step out of that context, you're able to see immense growth. You're able to see change because you just had this extraordinary experience in another country. You're removed from your cultural context.
I think students should study abroad in Beijing, mostly because I think it's just the best way to test yourself, because the world isn't always going to be so bread and butter. You're not always just going to be able to sit at home and do your homework. You're going to be in an office, you're going to have to go on a business trip, you're going to be in a meeting, and you're going to have to talk on the spot. So I think that studying abroad is just an invaluable experience.
Love that video. So we got to hear from some other students who participated in that program, and you got to see some other pictures from China. So a little bit more about the program here. So we partner with China Agricultural University. We CU Denver run a college called International Colleges Beijing, where we bring in all of our own faculty on the China Agricultural University campus. The program is semester or academic year. We've had several students who participated in the program for a whole year. The CU Denver courses are taught in Western style classrooms. You can take up to 16 credits, and these are the course options. You can take courses in economics, communication, math, political science, philosophy, history, English, geography, finance, and Chinese. So the majority of the courses are through the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. The program includes a pre-departure orientation here in Denver, in-country orientation in Beijing, an airport pickup, most required textbooks. You will not have to purchase your textbooks while in Beijing. You pick them up from the library and you return them at the end of the semester. So that's hundreds of dollars that you'll get to save by going on the Beijing program. You get international health and evacuation insurance, support services in Denver and Beijing, access to all campus amenities, dorm style living. You would share a room with one other person. You get a meal card of $200 that you get to use in some of the really great cafeterias on campus. And then there's a couple excursions. So you may get to go to Shanghai, Chengdu, Xi'an, Guilin, Great Wall, or Forbidden City. And here's a group of students over here who went to Xi'an. Megan is in that picture actually. And then up top, students and myself arriving to Guilin. Program does not include airfare. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit though. The visa fees, which cost about $200, travel insurance, a passport, or spending money. And on average, students bring about $1,500 while they're there. So to apply, you go to ucdenver.edu/semester in Beijing. And included in the application is a statement of purpose and an unofficial transcript. So it's a pretty easy apply process. And for funding, the program is about $9,000. And if you're paying for on-campus housing or you're living in an off-campus apartment with some friends or by yourself, you're gonna end up spending probably less for a semester than you would for an entire semester in Beijing. And we have a travel grant available. So if you apply for that, we will pay for your round trip ticket to and from Beijing. So that's some additional funding that you won't have to cover. And there's external scholarships. There's a Gilman Scholarship if you're Pell Grant eligible, Freeman Asia Scholarship, Fund for Education Abroad, And there's just lots of opportunities out there. So if you're interested, let us know and we can talk you through some of that. And then you'll be able to use your financial aid. So if you're receiving state or federal funding, the Pell Grants, you can certainly use that towards your program in Beijing. Some closing points here: experience a culture firsthand, learn a new language, make new friends, and stand out from the crowd. All right, we're gonna actually save questions for the end, but I am going to jump back in and we're gonna hear from Megan. Megan White participated in our program in fall 2017. And I have some questions here for her. So yeah, so let's start, Megan. Well, Megan, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, I'm Megan. I'm a recent graduate from CU Denver with a bachelor's in international studies and communication. I studied abroad through CU Denver at the Semester in Beijing program fall 2017, as Jessica mentioned. And yeah, it changed my life.
Yeah. Can you tell us why you chose the Semester in Beijing program?
Yes, I was really interested in Chinese culture in particular, and I just really wanted to immerse myself into another culture, another language, and interact with its people and try its food. And the Semester in Beijing program at CU Denver really interested me just because it is CU Denver classes. So I've had that familiarity. And then also that I was able to enhance my Mandarin skills. I really wanted to practice my language there.
Awesome. Can you talk about your classes in Beijing and how they've complemented your degree?
Yeah, so I was a sophomore in college when I first went. So I only had my international studies major at the time. And a lot of the classes did go for my requirements of the CLAS college. And then later on, when I did add on the communication major, a couple of the courses I did take in Beijing were able to go towards my communication major. And then my Chinese language class also went towards my Chinese studies minor, which was very helpful. And it was just a great opportunity because the classroom was so small, we were really connected in that way.
Thank you. What was your life like in Beijing?
It was really amazing. It was more, I would say Beijing's really like hustling and bustling just because it's a big city. It's the capital of China. People are everywhere, but also there's a lot of relaxation around where you can like, there's so many restaurants around where you can go and just enjoy the street food. And then there's also, the classes were really enjoyable. I really enjoyed interacting with other Chinese students on their perspectives from a cultural perspective. And we just kind of bounced ideas from there. And I just really enjoyed exploring the city. There's so much you can go down and see like different historical neighborhoods, which was amazing. Then you can go right into the city and see how grown it's become. So Beijing, life in Beijing was pretty amazing.
Yeah. Okay, great. And what were some highlights or favorite aspects of your experience?
The biggest highlight was when at the beginning of the program, like how Jessica mentioned, they take you to another province. We went to Xi'an, and it was just amazing because we got to ride an overnight train, which is pretty unique in China because they have like overnight trains, bullet trains. So we got to experience their public transportation and just really kind of connect with the city. And then another highlight was when I went to Inner Mongolia during China's national holiday. It was really awesome because another university nearby, they have this college program for international students that come study in Beijing. So not only did I interact with students from Beijing, but I also interacted with international students from around the world. And that was pretty unique.
Mm-hmm. So what surprised you about your experience, something that you weren't expecting?
I wasn't expecting how convenient and easy it was to get around. I had been studying Mandarin for a couple of years, but I was still nervous about like, getting around on the streets. However, Beijing is like an international hub, so there's a lot of international people there, and I felt more safe because of this. So there was a lot more English, and just how convenient China is in general with their technology. There was a lot of translating apps. We had like WeChat Pay, which was very convenient when we were like paying. You just scan a QR code and it comes right out of your Chinese bank. So I was really surprised how convenient it was. And at the beginning, I was nervous to go out on my own. However, like throughout over time, I became more confident, and it just surprised me how easy it was to get around, not knowing as much language as I did.
And what is something you'd like someone to know about studying abroad in
I like them to know, like what I just said, how surprised I was, just how convenient China is. And it's a great city. There's the international hub, there's people all around. Everyone's pretty friendly to foreigners for the most part, especially in the city. And I just really enjoyed interacting, and the food was so good and it was so affordable. Like I did budget some money. However, I realized I could eat out more than I could just because of the convenience and the inexpensiveness of the food.
Is there anything else you'd like to share about China or studying abroad in China? Something that we haven't asked you?
Yeah, I'd encourage anyone who wants to like experience a whole nother culture aside from the US and the Western side to visit China, just because you really step out of your comfort zone and get to experience a whole new culture and a whole new way of life. And it's pretty amazing what you can achieve and what you can do when navigating a city by yourself. And during that time, you just meet the greatest of friends because you are together in a unfamiliar place. So you get to really interact with these people from CU Denver. And also the students from ICB at the International College of Beijing are so kind. And a lot of the times they would take me out to lunch. And funny enough, I like met a student 2 years later in my class in Denver. So you get to see these students pretty often, more than I thought. And that was pretty amazing. So I encourage to try and study at Beijing, because you get to have really these great international experiences that I'd never thought I could have just by going to CU Denver.
Mhm. Are you still friends with the people that you studied abroad with or that you met in China?
Yeah, I've taken especially through my communication courses, I've met a lot of ICB students. And throughout the last few years, we've been connecting, interacting. And I've texted a few of them the last few months, just, with all these changes and, the pandemic. So just checking up on them.
Sure. Well, thank you, Megan.
Yeah, thank you.
Are there any questions for Megan or about Beijing? Okay, if not, we are going to move on to our semester in Berlin program. So Christoph, if you don't mind, I kind of wanted to play your video.
Sure.
Yeah, I love the video because it really shows and highlights Berlin. So I'm gonna go jump to that right now.
Welcome to the heart of political Berlin. Hello, I'm Christoph Steves. I'm a political science professor at the University of Colorado in Denver, and I'm the director of the Berlin program. You see the Chancellery, this is where Angela Merkel currently resides, the head of government of Germany. If you go a little bit further there, you see the embassy of Switzerland, and it's always been there at that place. A little bit further down is the main train station. This is where you can take a train everywhere you want for not much money to Europe. Here are the offices of the parliamentarians, and right here you actually see where the parliamentarians sit. This is the German parliament, and it was the old Reichstag built in the late 19th century. And here you see the flag of the European Union and the flag of Germany. And when you are here in Berlin with us, you will learn about Germany, of course, the German political system, but you will also learn about the European Union and the European integration process.
My name is Cristelli Del Giudici. I am majoring in international studies and I go to CU Denver. I chose Berlin because it is so big in regards to sustainability and because I'm going to be minoring in that. My favorite part of Berlin was how big the city was and how every day you could see something new. I really liked Christoph's class. I really like how small the classes were because they were basically, huge discussions. We were able to share ideas and really have that connection with people, I guess. I enjoyed how there was only class once a week, and all the other days we were able to do our internships and explore the city. I feel like I got a lot of experience, both personally and academically.
Long story short, came to Berlin for the study abroad, and I liked it so much, I decided I wanted to come back to Berlin to study for my master's degree. I really liked the price of coming to Berlin. I was really surprised at how affordable it was. And I really liked the payment options that we had. It was definitely worth it, the price to come to Berlin. I felt like it was pretty much very, very similar to the price of attending school on campus. Except with the price with on campus, that doesn't include your rent. And the price for Berlin included the rent and included the excursions that we got to go on. We did a bike ride in Dessau. I hadn't ridden a bike since I was 17 years old, and I was terrified. And it was a lot of fun. I had so much fun. You know, when you come back from a trip, people ask you how it was and what you did and what you thought about it. Pretty much I just told people that I wanted to move back. That was kind of the answer. That was the answer. And when they asked, how did you like Berlin? I'm moving back. And then I did.
I love that video, and I love how excited Felita was to talk about her experience in Berlin. Okay, Christoph, tell us about semester in Berlin.
What do you want to know about it? I mean, I know why Felita was so excited because she got married here and now she lives here. So that can happen. I think there are another couple of students at least who were on this program and are now in Berlin, actually. So either working or studying or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I know that we're not going to be running the program this upcoming spring, but we're looking forward to fall. So what does it look like for a student to be in Berlin? What do the classes look like? What are their opportunities? What does a day in the life of a student look like?
Well, first of all, housing. Housing is always with either a German family or a joint apartment. I don't know. Charisse, you were with a family, right?
I was with a host, yeah.
Yeah. So with Nicola, right, as far as I remember.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, so we have been doing this for like 5 years now. So I have a group of Germans who host our students, but then there are also people who just give their apartments, and then 2 students would share a room and maybe 4 an entire apartment or so. So that's in terms of housing. Getting around the city is very easy. Public transportation is, you know, affordable. It's actually part of the tuition. So you get a pass, allows you to travel around Berlin, and it's easy to manage. I think. Charisse, what do you think? Is that?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you use Google Maps, I mean, Google Maps has the transit on there. So.
Yeah, exactly. Google Maps is a really good way to get around actually in Berlin. Then in terms of classes, well, we kind of got rid of the German language class because it was not, it didn't lead students necessarily to speak German, but then of course you don't really need German in Berlin because everyone speaks English. Maybe some of the elderly people who don't, but the rest speaks English. And of course the classes are in English. We have usually like 3-4 classes that are offered and an internship. So the internship has been kind of a central component of the program. We had some really great students like Charisse, and some students who didn't do so well in their internships. So we might actually be a little bit more selective about the internship option, but you can always get at least 15 credits in Berlin as an undergrad and 12 as a graduate student. In addition to the classes, which are all taking place in the building of Ecologic Institute, that's our local partner in Berlin. Also, one of the classes on the global ecological crisis is taught by one member or employee of Ecologic Institute. So in addition to what we do in Berlin, we also do excursions within Berlin, but also 2 larger excursions outside of Berlin. One has been traditionally in Dessau, which is like a couple of hours by train. This is where the German Environmental Protection Agency is situated, as well as the Bauhaus, which is an architectural school of the 1920s. We stay there overnight, and that's also where we took the bike rides that Felita was so excitedly talked about. And the other trip will probably go again to Amsterdam for 2 nights because Amsterdam is pretty good in dealing with environmental issues and sustainability. We also visited the Anne Frank House to talk a little bit more about dictatorship, and because the 2 big themes are kind of political regimes. That's what I do. So generally speaking, politics, Western European politics, German politics, and the other one is environmental and climate change, sustainability. So also the internship are either in the area of refugees and working with refugees. Charisse worked. Where did you work?
It's called Stadtteilverein Schöneberg, right?
Yeah, Stadtteilverein Schöneberg, exactly. So this is like a local organization that was helping refugees to adopt to the German lifestyle, to when they are relocated from the refugee camps, and then they get their apartments. They are actually helping to get the people, like accustomed to, the neighborhood and stuff like that. So it's either that or working with an environmental organization, doing either research or hands-on projects. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it.
Thank you. Well, I can give some basic information about costs. So the price is approximately $10,000 for the whole semester, which again is a really nice deal. It's probably about what a student would spend for an entire semester in Denver if you are paying to live on campus or living in an off-campus apartment. So it's a really nice deal because that includes your tuition, your accommodations, the excursions, an internship, international health and evacuation insurance. Again, you get a pre-departure orientation in Denver and an in-country orientation once you're in Germany. And you have support services both here in Denver and Berlin. But what's not included is your airfare, your meals, visa fees. US citizens don't need to pay visa fees. So, travel insurance, spending money, and a passport. At this time, there aren't any specific scholarships coming from the Office of Global Education for this program, but I believe that there's a scholarship through the Political Science Department. If you want to talk a little bit about that, Christoph.
Yeah, we actually have 2 scholarships now. In the past, we had 1, now we have 2. And they are about $1,000. That covers your airfare, I think, pretty much. I mean, a little bit more than your airfare. Airfare right now is really cheap. Who knows how much longer?
Sure. Yeah, but if students want to apply for national scholarships, they can do that. And then they can also use their financial aid. So again, any state, federal, Pell Grants can apply towards this program. So yeah, that semester in Berlin, and we are fortunate enough to have Charisse Bishop here, who participated in this program. Remind me what semester you were there?
Fall 2017.
Fall 2017. Oh, okay, just like Megan, you're both around at that time. So can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Charisse Bishop. I got my undergrad from CU Denver in political science. I'm working on my master's in public policy at CU Denver. And yeah, I currently live in Vail, and we'll see how long that lasts. I'm a bit of a gypsy sometimes.
Cool. So I'm going to ask you the same questions I asked Megan. So please tell us why you chose the semester in Berlin program.
I chose it because, well, first of all, I just got the email, which is crazy, but I was like, oh my gosh, like I really want to do this. This sounds really fun. I had done a May semester in Guatemala, so I kind of wanted to, which really, kind of changed my perspective about things going on here, especially being in a third world, I hate saying that, like a developing country. And then I just kind of wanted to experience Europe, definitely, and experience kind of a different culture than our own. But also at the time, I'm sure it's still going on, but it was definitely big news at the time was the European refugee crisis, and I thought where better to learn than to actually go to Germany, who is a leader in dealing with the refugees coming to Europe and trying to take a more proactive and compassionate approach to that. And then also the sustainability classes, because again, I do think Europe's kind of being a leader in trying to combat climate change as well. So.
Wow, it's a lot to deal with. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you talk about how your classes in Berlin complemented your degree?
So my degree was political science, and Christoph's class was comparative governance with dealing with the refugee crisis. I really loved that class. Even at one, because in Europe they were also dealing with kind of, because of the refugee crisis, this uprising of the extreme right wing and stuff like that, which is actually pretty similar to what was going on here. And then we took a global ecological crisis with Stephanie Wonder. I think that's how it's said. And then she was great, and just kind of, we would take a lot of excursions and stuff and see kind of different approaches that in Berlin and Amsterdam and stuff like that, and how they're moving to more sustainable, fashion or living spaces or, commerce and stuff like that. So that was really good. My internship was really enriching and I think benefited me in a lot of ways. It, like you said, it was kind of a social organization that helped immigrants integrate into the community, and they offered all sorts of services and they were really great. And then I personally liked our German class. I know a lot of people didn't, but I thought it was great. It was definitely an intro class, so a lot of people who had experience in German probably wanted something a little bit more challenging, but I thought it was great. So,
Can you talk about what life is like living in Berlin?
It's definitely a culture hub. I mean, just like Megan was saying about Beijing, I think in Berlin, I mean, it's kind of a central, big city, lots of things going on, super beautiful canals everywhere, cobblestone streets. I mean, it's just super picturesque European city. And I think it was really easy to like live there. I mean, as somebody who felt just completely foreign when I got there, I didn't have a hard time getting around or anything like that. And you know, the nightlife was fun, and like you know, even going to the grocery store and stuff like that. I just kind of like get really nostalgic about it. You know, I miss it.
Mhm. Were there any particular aspects or highlights about your experience that you wanted to share?
Definitely all the trips we took to Dessau and Amsterdam was really good. I think definitely going to the Anne Frank house is one of my super highlights. I felt like it was a really moving experience. You know, I had read that book 1,000 times, so to actually go in that house and just see like what small space they had to crowd into. Um, we went to like a really cool co-op like apartment thing, Christoph. I think it was in Berlin. Um, but I thought that was really cool. And then, you know, just random stuff. So I really loved all the trips. And then even when you're over there, because we did only have classes on one day, we could, you know, the flights are super cheap there. So I went to like Milan, Ireland, Greece. Um, Look, I can't even remember all of them. So I went to a bunch of different cities on the weekends, and you can get like cheap Airbnbs and stuff like that. So that was really cool.
Wow. And what surprised you about your experience, something that you weren't expecting?
All the friendships I made, like honestly, they're like some of my best friends now. Because I think at Auraria campus, we're kind of a commuter campus, so you don't kind of form those college bonds like you typically would at probably a typical university. And we all became super close. I mean, we've done Thanksgiving, Christmas together. I've even like roommated with one of them. So I just didn't expect that at all, especially because on my Guatemala trip, I don't know. I just thought people were like, okay. I didn't really bond with them like I did on this trip. So.
And what's something that you'd like somebody to know about studying abroad in Berlin?
I overpacked. So I really, really overpacked. I brought like 3 suitcases because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be gone for 3 months. And I just thought I needed way more than I needed. And just bring one suitcase, everything you need, everything you use here, they have over there. You don't need like the ton of stuff that I brought. And also, you know, if you want to really blend in, wear black. So everybody wears black in Berlin. It's kind of a thing.
Yeah, looks like Christoph's wearing black over there too.
See? What?
No, it's green.
Oh, okay. That's really, really good to know. Well, thank you, Charisse. Do we have any questions? We have one participant here, Christopher. Do you have any questions for Charisse or anything that came up for you to ask Megan or Christoph?
Well, one of my questions was going to be like, what made you choose like the semester versus like a Maymester or an intern one, which is, I guess, sort of interesting since Charisse had done both of those. So I guess I'd want like a perspective on like that, like the difference in time and the experience the difference of the experience, I guess.
That's a great question. Either Megan or Charisse.
I can speak on it a bit. I really wanted to immerse myself in the culture and the people. And I think like the Maymasters and stuff are great because you get to have this immersive, intensive class. However, a full semester, you get to like, you know, experience the culture. You get to see the seasons change. I thought it was pretty amazing. And I also did like a short-term winter program. And during that time, I was in Barcelona for like 14 days and I didn't experience the full city in 14 days. So I think with a full semester and being able to have that freedom of like after class, I can go to this place. After during this full 3 months, I had a whole time to experience the city and the culture how during this whole time.
And one of the big catalysts for me was that I could get a full-time semester. I can get a full 12 credits, where a Maymester, you only get 3 credits. So I found that really a good reason to go for the full semester, and obviously immersing myself in the culture and stuff like that. But that was another big reason.
Maybe I can add to that, because we had a Maymester in Berlin and then we started the full semester. And the difference is, I think, really that when you come for a full semester to Berlin, you do actually have time on your own or with your fellow students to explore the city much more and be also on your own. And I think the great experiences that you make might be even on your own and not necessarily when you run around as a group through the city, see this, see that, but you do it on your own, you explore the city on your own. And of course, what Charisse did, and which we encourage, to travel around Europe. I mean, you're in the heart of Europe. You can't do that in 2 weeks, right? So you're one place and you see everything, and then you fly back. So plus what Charisse mentioned is, and I saw that at least 4 or 3 out of the 5 times that people who came to Berlin for a full semester are still friends today. There was supposed to be Felita's wedding, and I think how many people were supposed to show up? And then Corona hit. But I think like at least 5 or 6 students would have come all the way to Berlin for her wedding. And that is how close the bonds were.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Any more questions? That was a really great one, especially because Charisse and Megan both did both kinds of programs, the short-term program and the semester program.
Yeah, no, that was definitely like, I came into this wanting to like understand the difference in perspective on those two. So that actually helps a lot.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, if there aren't any more questions, I'd like to thank Charisse, Megan, and Christoph for participating in this webinar. It is recorded, so we're hoping to distribute this to other students and staff and faculty who can talk about this program too. So any last minute comments about studying abroad for a semester?
Well, I think, you know, this is Corona times, but it will get better. So just hang in there. We are back in the world and next year around this time, I hope.
Yeah.
And as soon as you have the opportunity to get out of the country, go.
Yep.
I encourage it. It's like life-changing. It really like makes it really makes your undergrad experience like worth it and great just to have this experience.
Yeah. Well, thank you, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye. Thank Christopher for